these statues, from being beside Heather when she died, from getting hit with tear gas grenades. All that was worth these statues coming down.
WINA's Dory Zook says
It came down so quickly that City Council was able to hold an emergency meeting and approve the immediate removal of the city's Lewis Clark and Sacagawea statue. The decision to remove that statue followed discussion with Native American representatives 2 years ago.
not just Canada. Turns out Americans also took Indigenous children from their parents and placed them in brutal residential schools. CBS's Nancy Chen toured one of them with a member of the Saginaw Chippewa tribe.
The tribe says many of the students suffered severe emotional and physical abuse, just as in Canada, and hundreds died.
What was life like for a student here?
Well, if we can imagine some of the students being as young as 2 years old, being away from your family, learning to be assimilated into the white culture was very devastating for many young people.
From his space base in Truth or Consequences, about an hour and a half from now.
Richard Branson and 5 Virgin Galactic employees will be headed to suborbital space above New Mexico.
Spaceship Unity, welcome to space.
The billionaire says he'll be testing the experience he hopes paid passengers will have.
CBS's Peter King. Branson would be the first private citizen to blast into space in his own spacecraft. This is CBS News.
Get CBS News Radio on the Odyssey app. All the audio that matters to you is on Odyssey. News, music, sports, and podcasts. Download the Odyssey app today.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. Very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 866-88-BIBLE. That's 866-88-BIBLE. 866-88-BIBLE.
WWL First News. I'm Tom Perumian on your official weather station, WWL AM/FM.com.
Another hot and humid day across the area. Temperatures are expected to climb into the lower 90s under partly cloudy conditions. A few spotty showers are possible, but later on this afternoon, I do expect showers to develop across the area with isolated thunderstorms, and heavy rain is possible in a few areas. So if you are planning on being out and about, just make sure you have an umbrella handy.
Your local weather expert, WWL TV meteorologist Michelle Morgan, will be along with your full weather forecast. A man was shot.
There you go.
With the details, we go to WWL TV's Duke Carter.
Hello. PD says it happened at the corner of Frenchman Street and Claiborne Avenue. Just after 1 o'clock this morning, they found a man who was shot multiple times. He was taken to the hospital in stable condition by EMS. No other details are available at this time.
Crews continue digging through the rubble of a condo collapse in Surfside, Florida. Among the missing, a Kenner woman. WWL TV's Karen Swenson reports on her family's reaction to the effort.
14 bodies were recovered today, bringing the death toll to 79, with 61 still missing. Among them, Kenner native Cassandra Stratton. Her husband released a statement today saying, in part, Cassie meant so much to so many and everything to me. This wasn't the miracle we prayed for, but it was not for lack of trying by rescue crews whose tireless bravery will never be forgotten.
Now here's Tim Zimmer in WWL Sports.
After finishing the season with a 5-5 record, the LSU Tigers made some changes this offseason, including the hire of new offensive coordinator Jake Peetz. Peetz was the quarterback coach with the Carolina Panthers last season, and he was able to work under former LSU coach Joe Brady in Carolina. When asked how this will impact the play calling this year, former LSU quarterback Herb Tyler thinks it could give the edge to LSU quarterback Miles Brennan.
Was the one thing I think that Miles actually has a leg up on versus Mac is the fact that he's going to be in a similar system that he played in 2019 with Joe Brady. And we don't know how much of the offense is going to resemble Joe Brady's offense, but we would think that it
his 3 games on the field for the Tigers last season, Brennan completed 60% of his passes, throwing for over 1,100 yards. And Game 3 of the NBA Finals this night, the Suns currently lead that series 2-0 over the Milwaukee Bucks. Monty Williams' squad has faced adversity all season, and they may be without forward Torrey Craig on Sunday. Craig injured his knee in the third quarter in Game 2. Nevertheless, the series heads to Milwaukee. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Tim Zimmer, WWL Sports.
Now, your Garcia Roofing forecast on WWL.
A little bit more sunshine is in the forecast today, and temperatures are expected to climb into the lower 90s. But when you factor in the dew points, it's going to feel much warmer than that. It's going to feel like the upper 90s. So if you're planning on being outside today, just be careful. We are looking at a cool front moving through the area, and that is going to help generate a few showers as we head into the afternoon hours and a few isolated thunderstorms. A few of those thunderstorms may produce heavy rain, which may lead to some issues. So if you're out and about later on today, just be careful. As we head into the work week, Monday, another chance for showers. So we are looking at that typical summer-like pattern: scattered showers during the afternoon, isolated thunderstorms with quick heavy downpours. Temperatures are expected to climb into the lower 90s. From your Weather Expert Forecast Center, I'm WWL TV meteorologist Michelle Morgan.
And I'm Tom Perumian, WWL First News. From WWL, the news talk sports powerhouse of the Gulf South, it's All Things Legal with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud. Underwritten by Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm. Join us on the Oakwinard Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870, or connect anytime, anywhere on the Odyssey app. Now, to our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union studios in the heart of New Orleans, here are attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri.
Hey, good morning, Doug Sunseri. Albert Nicaud, all things legal. Give us a call, 260-187. And good morning, Albert.
Hey, Doug, what's going on?
Oh, nothing much. I went to...
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me? I went to the French store. Can you hear me back in the station, Doug?
Can't hear you.
Albert, take it for now.
Can you hear me, Doug?
Can do.
Okay. So Doug was telling a story about going to the French Quarter. I'll be curious to hear about that. Actually, do know a lot of folks that have restaurants and businesses in the French Quarter, and they said that things are finally picking up. Things are getting back to normal. So, hopefully that's a sign of things to come. I know we traveled recently and got home. We had a late flight coming back home from Miami, and got back home around midnight on a Thursday night, and it was the most crowded I've ever seen the New Orleans airport, whether the old airport or the new airport. It was packed with people, packed with cars. The line to get an Uber it had 200 people in it. It was crazy. Our luggage was delayed, and so we went back on Saturday afternoon, and there was no parking in the short-term parking, and we had to park on the 5th floor of the long-term parking. It was crowded as can be. And then went to pick up my son, who had traveled with us and just came home a little later. And the line was about a half a mile long to pick up pick up passengers in the pickup lane. So I think that's a sign of things to come as well. I think it's a good sign. People are out, people are traveling. And the airport's a pretty good sign. I know that they're starting to open more and more of the shops and restaurants and everything there. How about you, Doug? You back on?
I think I'm back on. Am I back on, Doug?
Can't hear you.
Still can't hear Doug. So anyway, so hopefully that's a good sign for people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Got it back. All right. That was easy.
Yes. I don't know if you could hear any of that, Doug. We're just talking about the airport, talking about the French Quarter. You mentioned you were going to the French Quarter. And
I went yesterday, and I was stuck on traffic for about an hour and a half on Decatur Street.
Wow.
And so we were, it was, and I think they were mostly local. interestingly. It seemed like a lot of people just wanted to get out. And I think it's a very fantastic opportunity for New Orleans to capitalize if we can execute, because, a lot of people can't, it's very hard to travel abroad right now. It's a lot of restrictions. Can't get into Canada, can't get out of Canada. Other countries are not receptive to having tourists. So New Orleans is a way of going to Europe without going to Europe in a lot of ways. In other words, if you want that experience of, a European vacation or something that's just unique, as opposed to going to, typical, a lot of cities that, they all sort of generically.
Yeah, it's everywhere USA, right?
Yeah, everywhere USA. So it was packed, and it was good to see it was packed.
Yeah.
And,
I know my daughter. Yeah, my daughter went. She has a friend that's got a job in Houston, so they had a little going away party for her. So she and some friends went down there to kind of see her off. So I hadn't spoken to her. So I'll probably speak to her tomorrow. We're going to go to church, so find out how it was, what the experience was down there.
And I was looking at that, and I was saying we have the greatest cultural resource to bring in visitors. I think I don't know how many visitors, whether we have 8, 10, 15 million a year. And, we could, it's not probably the best thing, but we could, until our economy diversifies, if it ever does, which nobody's talking about right now, is especially in election time, is that could sustain us in the interim. If we do that right, until we're able to diversify in other areas, maybe in tech, some other areas. But
it's one answer. It's crime. You got to hold the crime down. You got to keep the crime statistics out, and the way to do that is to put a lot of police on the street. I mean, it's a simple formula. You put a lot of police on the street and you keep them there till late at night, because even if a shooting happens at 4 a.m. where most people have already gone home, it's still the news is still a shooting in the French Quarter, and it makes people scared. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to go out uptown. I'm going to go out in Metairie. I'm going to go out somewhere else, because I'm not going to risk my life to go down to the French Quarter.
And why haven't they done that?
What's that?
And why don't they do that? I mean, I'm asking that rhetorically. I know why.
Well, of course we know, and crime just has to be, it has to be curtailed everywhere. People need to be safe. I mean, you see these videos of, somebody just walking down the street and getting smacked over the head, and there's a lot more cameras on the street with businesses having outdoor cameras, and so they can see a lot more of the activity that really goes on. And when you see it on video, it's a lot worse than what I just described as, someone getting hit over the head and their wallet stolen. It's a lot more violent, and it's something that people don't want to be a part of. And unless they get a hold of the crime, unless they can curtail it, it's going to be a struggle. But, it gives you an idea, though, of how crowded it was and how people have this desire to go out and to be part of the city and interact and have a good time. And, let's, like you said, let's feed that. Let's capture that, at least in the French Quarter, the warehouse district. Magazine Street is hopping. At the Treme, the Faubourgs, St. John, and it's all there for us. We just gotta, even Mid-City's going crazy with the Wrong Iron and the different beer gardens, etc. So, safety is the issue.
Well, there's a re-election going on, and I'm just worried by this, because I'm not an Orleans Parish resident, but I think I'd be there with my pitchforks, in front of City Hall. You have crime, which is obvious, and that's the number one function of local government. It's not Democrat, that's not Republican, that's not liberal, that's not conservative. That is, it's supposed to transcend everything. Number two is quality of life. Now, there's certain basic things that don't occur in Orleans Parish, such as garbage pickup, drainage, response time, to any type of emergencies. City services is just not responsive. And number three is economic opportunity in industry. Nobody is talking about that. They're talking about stimuluses, social programs, a bunch of ancillary items that aren't going to make a city thrive. And two things I don't understand is why are the people who are in charge being held accountable? And two, what is the complacency within Orleans Parish where we're going to say, okay, we're going to live with crime. We're going to live with garbage pickup not being picked up. We're going to live with not having drainage. We're going to live with, I saw a feature on the news about all this trash that's being dumped. And, a very good, nice lady off the 610 has been asking the city to deal with it for 3 or 4 years and no response and no economic opportunity in industry. There's nothing to say, what are we going to do to encourage businesses to move in? Because a lot of businesses right now, if they want to move to this area, they're not moving to Orleans Parish. They're going to move along the I-12 corridor. They'll move in Elmwood. They'll move in Kenner. But they're not going to move in Lawrence. And they're saying, we can't put our employees. And I don't understand why there is no discussion about that. Why I saw the incumbent mayor's commercial discusses none of that. Is talking about COVID, which, okay, we're past it. What is our future about? What is our future about?
Right.
And so, it's just very interesting to me that none of the council people seem to be talking about it who are running for reelection. The mayor's sure not talking about it, and nobody else is. And it's just interesting. Like I said, I think if I was in Orleans Parish, I'd be out there with my neighborhood with the pitchfork saying, "Hey,
yeah.
We're not standing for this anymore." But there's no outrage about it. There's no pushback. It's just like, this is what New Orleans is. And
Yeah.
as long as that stays in place, we're just going to be continuing our downward descent. I mean,
well, and you also have a situation where there are transitions going on around the country. There are COVID transitions. People are transitioning from being locked in and trapped to being able to get out and kind of get back to normal. And then there's also a lot of transitions where in many of these cities where a lot of crime and rioting and all that stuff was allowed, and the crime rate has gone through the roof, and they're kind of broken. Now is the opportunity to attract those residents that are tired of it, that want to get away from that, and give them, offer them something here in this metropolitan area where they can move, they can feel safe, they can send their kids to school, and their kids can feel safe and learn. And it's a great opportunity to build a community with people that want the right things. They want safety. They want good schools. They want all of these things, and not some free for all smash up the city, and disrespecting and defunding police officers. Let me tell you, I know you and I are on the same page with this, where most people are. I think they did a poll. 80% of the people that polled around the country don't want anything to do with defunding police. In fact, they want to increase their budget. People say, it's $6 billion budget. How can New York have a $6 billion budget for policemen? That's way too much money. Well, you think about it. How many police vehicles are there in New York City? How many policemen? How many pensions? How much insurance? What about all the infrastructure, the police offices, the buildings, the stations? It's very, very expensive to run a police department and fight crime. And it's just, you need resources, you need vehicles that work. And let me tell you, when all of a sudden everybody's against the police officers, they lose a little enthusiasm for their job. You liken it to a football game. Doug, you're at the game and your home fans are booing you. How hard do you think you're going to play?
Well, also too, you're going to lose quality applicants because people aren't going to want to apply to be a New Orleans policeman if you're going to be spat on, cussed, and used as a pinata by politicians. And then what's going to happen is the quality of applicants you're going to attract is going to be a lot less desirable because nobody else is going to work at that job. But, we have a great city here, and we have something that no other city in this nation has. And what's in this next election cycle, nobody is addressing the things to either just at least maintain it until we can get our feet under us and figure out some economic opportunities that New Orleans can pursue outside of tourism. And, you've got to start with that, with quality of life. Who in the heck is going to move their company into here when there's story after story that our garbage will not be picked up? Those are the kind of things that happen in third world countries. And it's not happening in Orleans Parish, and it doesn't seem like anybody's concerned about it. But let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Al Radico, your Weekend Lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
Odyssey is the best way to power your day, giving you so many ways to stay connected to all the audio that matters to you, anywhere you are. At home, kick back and listen to Odyssey on your favorite home entertainment devices like Roku and Chromecast. And you can ask Alexa or Google to play your station hands-free. Listen in your car with the Waze app, Apple CarPlay.
All right, we do have a caller, Miss Deidre. She's from Slidell, and she's having a problem with her insurance.
All right.
This is Attorney Doug Sunseri, host of All Things Legal on Sunday mornings.
Hey, Doug. Doug?
Say again?
Doug, my other headset went out. That's why I had to pick it on.
Damn.
It went dead.
Estate planning, wills, and powers of attorney.
I had an extra one.
As long as you have it in hand.
Yeah,
504-837-1304.
Where do you get? Because the time that Entercom gets me another one, it'll probably be next year. Where do I buy
Boss
these?
lady, really?
Love is a two-way street. It's a partnership, a collaboration. It takes two. When it comes to jewelry, it takes two as well. At Oakland Heart Jewelers, it takes both beautiful diamonds and exquisite prices. In this age of mass production, our attention to detail is unsurpassed. From our bracelets to our diamond stud earrings, each and every diamond is perfectly matched by a member of the Oakland Heart family, personally. Come see our vast selection of rings, pendants, bracelets, and earrings. Each piece passes from our master jeweler's hands directly to your hands, saving you money. And along with the pieces we create in our store, we offer diamond jewelry from world-renowned designers like David Yurman, Penny Prevost, Mikimoto Pearls, and Marco Bichigo. Breathtaking diamonds, stunning styles, always at the best possible prices. Oakland Heart Jewelers on Metairie Road. Beautiful in more ways than one.
The most important financial decision you'll make isn't picking the next hot stock or fund manager. It's selecting the right financial advisor. How do you pick the advisor that's right for you? Find out in a special virtual event with New York Times bestselling author Rick Edelman, Tuesday, July 20th at 3 p.m. or at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's free. Register at EdelmanFinancialEngines.com. During the event, you'll get advice on how to select the right financial advisor, and you'll get a list of the 11 must-ask questions you can carry with you when you interview financial advisors. If you already have an advisor, you can use the list to evaluate if they are right for you. The virtual event will give you all the information you need to help you make the right decision, and Rick will make it entertaining. The presentation is free, so register right now for this special virtual event on July 20th at 3 p.m. or at 8 p.m. Eastern. Register at EdelmanFinancialEngines.com. That's EdelmanFinancialEngines.com.
Hi, folks. Joel Myers for my friends at Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans. If you're in the market for a great pre-owned luxury vehicle, look no further than Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans, where you can shop from a large selection of certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz vehicles. Each is thoroughly inspected and comes with our certified pre-owned extended warranty. We also have a large selection of other top luxury brands, including BMW, Lexus, Range Rover, Cadillac, Infiniti, and many others. Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans, Veterans Boulevard in Metairie.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right
Here we go.
diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Now, more All Things Legal, underwritten by Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm. All advice given and opinions shared are solely those of attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri. Back to WWL.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers. So, beginning of the show, thank you for covering, Albert. My headsets went dead, and I had a spare, and so
not a problem.
The old ones are going into the can after this. I tell you what, we got Deidre on the phone. She's got an insurance country. Let's go to the phone lines with Miss Deidre. Hey, Deidre, you're in All Things Legal.
Good morning. I filed an insurance claim when my house was damaged from a storm. The repairs were finished and the house was sold. The final insurance check was received after the closing and it was made out to the mortgage company and me. The mortgage company refuses to endorse it because they said the mortgage.
Albert is feeding back.
So how can I go about getting this money?
Well, you get something in writing, if you could, from the mortgage company stating that they're going to refuse to endorse it because the mortgage has been paid in full and that they don't want to be on the check or have their name on the check. And then send that back to the insurance company with a copy of the check, or with the check itself, and say, could you please reissue this check? Here's the information from the mortgage company. The mortgage has been paid off. Here's a copy of my act of sale to show that, or the HUD statement to show that the mortgage has been paid in full. Please reissue the check with just my name on it.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thanks for that. We experienced that a lot in Hurricane Katrina with mortgage companies, and then also with the flood in 2016 in Baton Rouge. You have a lot of the mortgage companies who were less than responsive. Now, a lot of mortgage companies were concerned after Katrina. A lot of people took some took their Katrina money and didn't rebuild their house, didn't pay their mortgage, and kept the money and walked on it. So the mortgage companies do have an interest in making sure that the house is rebuilt to protect their security. On the other hand, though, a lot of the mortgage companies were less than responsive in getting money to the homeowners because they were sort of in a trick bag because they had to pay their contractor, and the mortgage company was not getting them money to pay the contractor as they went along, and they sort of got sideways because the contractor didn't work because they wasn't getting money, and the mortgage company wasn't giving the money out because there wasn't work completed.
Right.
So some mortgage companies do very well with that. They'll send an inspector to check out the progress of work, and they'll track it. But I find that sometimes during where they have a mass disaster such as Katrina, Isaac, Rita, that when they get overwhelmed, the natural inclination is not to pay anything out and hold on to the money until they can get their inspectors out there.
Right. Well, you think about the thousands of people that had claims, and we're all trying to get their homes rebuilt around the same time. A lot of these mortgage companies, not that it's not an excuse, it's a reason, but there's something called a draw inspection. And so when you finish a certain phase of the construction, then the insurance company, the mortgage company will send out an inspector, a draw inspector, to say, okay, yes, you did do X, Y, Z. You've got the wiring roughed in. You've got this done. You're ready to close the walls. All right, we're going to pay you this portion of your payment as the contractor, and then when you get the next phase, we'll give you the next draw. And they just didn't have enough draw inspectors. So many of these people were out there working either for insurance companies or they were working for individuals, handling their insurance claims. And so the qualified inspectors to do draw inspections were scarce because they weren't getting paid as much as the other folks were, as the disaster inspectors, adjusters, and the public adjusters. So it was a tough thing for a lot of folks that had a mortgage that they were just trying to get paid, and we ended up as their attorney being the squeaky wheel and threatening all kinds of things, and so it moved our folks to the top of the stack, but. Sometimes if sue us, there's nothing we can do.
On some of the Katrina claims and some of the Baton Rouge claims for the flood, what we'd have to do actually is we'd have to sue the mortgage company to get them engaged, because we could not get them engaged, and at that point, we wasn't going to cut them loose until at least they paid back the cost of getting them engaged, as far as the getting
signing the checks.
Sign checks, returning phone calls, and that sort of thing. So, but that's and also too, and when you do a renovation or a reconstruction or renovation, often if you get a loan for that, the bank will require some type of oversight on that process.
Sure. Yeah, and they have that oversight, and that's part of the draw inspection, and they want to see the contract. And a lot of times, represent a number of contractors and homeowners, but what they will do is they will force the contractor to place a clause in their contract where they're going to get paid in draws. In other words, it's not going to be pay me 50% up front and 50% when I'm done. It's going to say, here we're going to pay X amount for materials up front, and then after that you reach a certain milestone, and so that will be spelled out. They'll actually do an addendum to your construction contract, because the bank's not stupid. They're not going to say, hey, look, we're just going to give this contractor our money and let them run off and do whatever they want to do. So they make the contractor sign off on it as well, so they could pursue the contractor if things go awry. But we see it all the time. I mean, we see it all the time. And unfortunately, too, some of the bank's people are just not very good. And what happens is the homeowner will rely on that person to make sure that they're not overpaying the contractor. And, it won't always be the case. Sometimes the contractor will get pretty far ahead, and then there's a breakdown. Look, I need this money, and, well, you're not finished this, et cetera, et cetera. And there's sometimes a fight at the end. And we see that pretty often. But, that's just part of the process. And, they're out there, and look, loans get purchased and get purchased again. And it's a loan processing agency that bought these loans that are more interested in the financial aspects of collecting their money as opposed to servicing the loan and servicing the customer.
It's often good to get a mortgage, if you can, at a local homestead that indicated it will never sell the loan.
Right.
At least you have a live body to talk to, and you have some type of...
You can go over there. Hey, look, this is what I need. Could you please endorse this? Come send somebody out to inspect it. And like you said, it's a body to look at.
Some of my advice was, this is legal advice. After Katrina, when they were not being responsible on the mortgages, and it was not a local bank, but a bank that had a branch here, I'd say, go to the bank and pitch a fit.
Right.
And let all of the customers see you're very, very upset. Say, here, have a glass of water here. Let's figure this out. Just don't upset our customers. So
exactly.
All right, well, let's go to break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, Weekend Lawyers, All Things Legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
Yeah, baby. The free cash contest is back. You can win $1,000 an hour just for listening to WWL. Every weekday, every hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m., you have the chance to win $1,000 in our Odyssey National Cash Contest. Listen for the code word right before the top of the hour news. Then text it to 72881. Win $1,000 an hour, $11,000 a day. The free cash contest starts again Monday.
This is Glenn Pellis with Gulf South Guarantee. Does your money need to get a job? You worked hard for it, and it should work hard for you. Lazy money is just sitting there, taking up space, not earning its keep. If you have lazy money laying around, call me at 877-615-4312. You might have lazy money lurking in a savings account at the bank, collecting very little interest, or in a CD that isn't earning much of anything. Or maybe it's just stuffed under your mattress. Wherever your lazy money is, it's time to get it to work for you. Call us now at 877-615-4312. You could be leaving a lot of money on the table by allowing it to sit on the couch. Get your lazy money a job today. Call me now at 877-615-4312. That's 877-615-4312. Or find us on the web at golfsouthguarantee.com.
This is Bobby Abraham from my friends at Clearwater Pools and Spas, your staycation headquarters. Let us make your backyard a great family vacation spot for the summer. They're the trusted leader in water treatment and offer the largest selection in above-ground pools, spas, and hot tubs, including hot spring spas. They're the only factory authorized and trained in pristine blue and oxygen sanitizing systems. Visit cwnola.com or one of our locations in Covington, Metairie, Baton Rouge, and Pearl, Mississippi. Clearwater Pools and Spas.
If you thought Diamonds Direct's values were impressive, wait till you see what we're doing next. It's a spectacular summer store-wide sale, July 14th through the 18th, with an extra 20% savings on virtually all diamond and fashion designer jewelry, from rings and earrings to bands and bracelets and so much more. We're breaking our own rules to bring you extreme value for 5 hot summer days. Get 20% extra savings on a multi-million-dollar selection of fine jewelry, July 14th through 18th at Diamonds Direct on Severn Avenue across from Lakeside Mall.
Summer is here. Now's the perfect time to enjoy your amazing backyard. Unless you have a mosquito problem, contact the experts at J&J Exterminating. Whether you need a one-time treatment or a monthly control program, call us or go online for a free estimate from a fully certified technician. And take advantage of $50 off initial service. Make this summer the best ever with J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating.
Yeah. Rejuvenate your days with Rejuvame. RejuvameMedical.com.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish is
pretty bad.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind. Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
No matter your learning style or experience level, Babbel has lessons designed for you that will get you speaking quickly and confidently.
I tried learning Spanish before, but I couldn't stick with it until I found Babbel.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
I can't wait to use our new language skills on our upcoming adventures.
Babbel, language for life, celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
We're all on the right together. So join Odyssey and find your one thing. This summer, try some eco-friendly water sports like paddleboarding, swimming, or diving. Join Odyssey, and together, each of us doing one thing makes a greener tomorrow. What's your one thing?
All things legal with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud on WWL and Odyssey Station. Connect now on the Oakland Heart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri. Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers. Give us a call at 260-1870. I got some inquiries regarding the NIL, name, image, likeness, and from family members, friends who have children who are playing college football and are relatives, and they're wanting to, exploit their image. And they were talking about forming LLCs. And, some are forming LLCs with another person, partnership, or, or certain, to start that process, trademarks and trade names. But there's a lot of things that, about LLCs that are, that a lot of people don't know the difference between an LLC and a corporation.
Right.
And,
right.
People, first thing they ask, should I, form a corporation or LLC? And probably most of the time, a little small venture or initial venture, LLC is probably the appropriate choice. You could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, one of the main things, obviously is taxation. That's one of the first things to start with. The limited LLC is a limited liability company, and it is exactly that. It limits the liability of the members to their investment. So let's say you and a friend put up $50,000 each and take out a mortgage and buy a piece of real estate, and you're collecting money from the real estate, paying off the bills. Somebody's managing it, all that sort of thing. So you want to form a limited liability company, because if there's some lawsuit that might exceed the value of your insurance and the value of your property, then they can come after you personally and collect your personal assets in a judgment. Whereas if you form a limited liability company, then you don't have that issue. Your liability is limited to the value of your investment. And so at that point, you can throw your hands up and say, come get it. It's mortgaged to the hilt. It's not really worth anything. You're not, to get the insurance money and go away. And most lawyers will do that. Most lawyers that are in the either personal injury business or in the just the plaintiff lawsuit business are not collection attorneys. They don't want to go chase somebody around for their money.
You ever see an insurance company, a personal injury while you're watching the news in the morning, saying, "Hey, have you been hit by an uninsured truck? We would like to find justice for you."
Right. No, exactly. You'll see it. Yeah.
The need to find justice is just a little bit less.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to fool with it unless they have big fat insurance policy. So if it's got a name on the truck, call us, right? Or if you have a serious injury and it's some sort of.
They're not saying we're concerned about your injury,
exactly,
whether or not.
And so the point is that LLCs will protect you from that perspective. The other issue is taxation. So and corporate formalities. So if you form a corporation, a regular corporation, there's a double taxation issue that you have to deal with unless you make an IRS S election, which would become an S corporation, subchapter S of the Internal Revenue Code. But there's a double taxation issue if you're a regular corporation. So if the corporation makes $100,000 in profit one year, then the corporation's taxed at a corporate tax rate on that $100,000. Then if you want to make a dividend to the shareholders of that corporation, then those dividends are also taxed then at the individual's personal income tax rate. So there's a double taxation issue that you have to worry about, which is one of the reasons why we tend to stay away from forming corporations for small or closely held businesses, right? Right, the corporate formalities are the next issue, sure. Yeah, and that's, so as a corporation, you have to have annual shareholders meetings. You have to keep minutes of all your meetings. You have all these corporate formalities that you have to issue shares, and there are all these corporate formalities that you have to maintain. Whereas if you're a small, closely held company, you can sit down with your partners and say, hey, look, we need to buy a new refrigerator for our kitchen. In our restaurant, we've got a few prices. Okay, let's go with this one. We vote, we go buy that one. And so that's pretty much how you run the LLC. It's a lot more loosely done. Then there's something called an S election with a corporation and with an LLC. Okay, so you can request an S be taxed like an S corporation. which means that it's a pass-through taxation, much like being taxed as a partnership, where the partners are both receiving income. The company makes $100,000. The partners are taxed on that $100,000 at their individual rates based upon their percentage of ownership. And so as a result, you're only getting taxed once on the profits. One of the things, though, you do want to be careful about from a taxation standpoint, I always suggest, very rarely do I not suggest that even if you're a limited liability company, you opt for an S election if one or more of the members of the LLC is going to be working the business and earning a salary. So let's say, Doug and I get in business and Doug decides, okay, Albert, I'm going to put up $100,000, but you're going to work the business and we're going to pay you a salary of X to work the business and pay expenses, et cetera. Any profits we derive after that, we're going to split the profits 50-50. Okay, so that's our arrangement. So what you want to do is have an S election so you can pay that person as an employee, because otherwise the LLC will be taxed as a partnership. And if you're taxed as a partnership, you can't earn a salary, and the company can't pay your employment taxes or the company's portion of your employment taxes, because all they can pay you is what's called a guaranteed payment. And so they give you guaranteed payments from which you take and you purchase your health insurance, you purchase your own, you pay your own employment taxes and everything else. So be sure that you look into that. And I don't know where we stand on time, Doug, but we need to kind of talk about the operating agreement as well, which I don't know if we want to go to that now or.
Yeah, we'll take a break. When people say what's the difference between corporation and LLC, among what you were saying before about keeping records and shareholders meetings, is in an LLC, in a corporation, you have board members in one bucket, you have shareholders in one bucket, you have officers in one bucket. So you have three different lines of supervision or ownership. Whereas an LLC, the members are the shareholders, the officers, and the officers, members, and they're in the board. They're all one. So it's just a lot easier to manage. All right, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert, Nicaud, you weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
Dealing with adversity and finding
Hey,
ways
Doug,
to
how
unify.
much are you going to have after this break?
I do have Jim on the line. It's sort of a civics question that he's got more than anything else.
Okay.
C13 original.
Jim?
He's from Mississippi.
All right. How long
Written
are
and
we
narrated by John Nicaud. Features moments in our nation's past when we faced challenges as a country and as a world. Listen and follow Season 2 of Hope Through History. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, folks. Joel Myers and my friends at Best Chevrolet. At Best Chevrolet, they know a Chevy buyer is generally looking for three things. Number one, they want a great price. Two, they want a top-notch service department. And three, Chevy buyers want an enjoyable, no-hassle buying experience. I can tell you, you're going to get all three at Best Chevrolet. On Veterans Boulevard, where Metairie meets Kenner, or bestchevrolet.com. Best Chevrolet, a proud member of the Gail Benson Automotive family of dealerships.
I'm former NBA player Don Chaney. For years, I had carpal tunnel syndrome and joint pain. Then I started having heart-related symptoms like fatigue and palpitations. Turns out I had heart failure caused by hereditary transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare, life-threatening disease underdiagnosed in African Americans. If you're African American and over 50 with heart failure experiencing unresolved symptoms, talk to your doctor or visit DonKnowsHisHeart.com.
Brought to you by Pfizer. This year, give her what she really wants. Diamond stud earrings from Oakland Heart. When she sees that Oakland Heart box, she'll know they're the best. What she won't know is that you got the very best price possible. Oakland Heart Jewelers on Metairie Road.
WWL is the lifeline of the Louisiana community. And so, when it comes to our coffee, there's only one choice: community coffee. the official coffee of WWL.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're
Okay, we're going right after this, and it'll be about 8 minutes of some change.
They cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-568-2790. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-568-2790. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-568-2790. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-568-2790. 800-568-2790.
All things legal on WWL. Consult with Nicaud and Sunseri now on the Oakland Heart Jewelers Talk and Text line. 504-260-1870. And don't forget to rewind on the Odyssey app.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you weekend lawyers. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Jim. Hey, Jim, you and all things legal with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud.
Mighty good morning. Glad to hear y'all this morning.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not sure if my questions fit in with your program this morning or not, but I've got a question as to why we can't make it a federal hate crime to assault any first responder.
I think Florida is one of the first states, maybe, or Texas, are doing that. And, that's a function of the legislature. And, there's two schools of thoughts on hate crimes.
I understand that because, now it's a hate crime if Asian American is involved.
Right. Well,
we put these people out there to protect us, and we're not protecting them. They're in and out the front door. And when somebody deliberately walks up to a police officer's car and shoots the patrolman inside the vehicle, that's definitely a hate crime.
Well, there are laws that enhance penalties for assaulting a police officer. And so I'm not. I get it.
But our that law is probably just like so many others that it needs to be updated. It's antique right now. There's no penalty. In my opinion, if you spit on a police officer, that's assault. That's a hate crime. That's just
it's one of the things with hate crimes is that, excuse me, you have to be a protected class from a race standpoint, from a sexuality standpoint. And so police officers are not part of the discriminatory type class that the Constitution would protect. Well, I understand, but you wouldn't necessarily call it a hate crime, but I think what you can do is increase the sentencing, or maybe some mandatory sentencing for assaults and crimes against.
Sorry, but the reason I'm saying make it a federal hate crime for any first responder, because I've even heard them fired on the fire department, EMTs, and everything else. And if it's the federal government involved in it, not each state saying, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. If it's a federal crime, then the federal government has an obligation at that time to pursue it. And if I'm not mistaken, the federal government still has the death penalty.
Yeah. Well, first of all, here's the deal. A lot of district attorneys in a lot of these big cities are choosing not to enforce the crimes on the book. Because,
right. So that would remove it from their hands then.
Well,
from the
and there's also
automatically go to,
depending on who's president, there's a lot of U.S. attorneys who won't pursue it either. So, like for example,
isn't that called dereliction of duty though?
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, I think
the laws
Portland
on the book, and they say, well, we ain't going to enforce that no more. We don't care about that.
I think in Portland,
isn't that dereliction of duty?
Yeah,
when they're sworn in, they swear to uphold the laws that are on the book.
I agree. I mean, I think in Seattle and Portland, they were assaulting, federal buildings, and they were there was a very tolerant attitude toward that. And there's a very tolerant attitude right now. Look, there's a tolerant attitude toward criminals in New Orleans. That's why they're carjacking in broad daylight. And deterrence. I'm sorry about the social conditions that led to it, but you have to deter and keep the law-abiding citizens.
Well, that's what I'm
first.
saying. There would be a deterrent as far as assaulting first responders that way.
Yeah.
But one more thing.
Yeah.
If you've got time.
Sure, we got plenty of time.
Why aren't we pursuing Black Lives Matter, just using them as an example, for the damages occurred during Black Lives Matter protests? Wow. When they encourage 1,000 people to show up, and 500 of those 1,000 go out and do the damages, and even patrol cars. Hell, if they're required to pay for a patrol car or 10, then maybe they'd start trying to act a little bit better. But hell, if that lady just went out and spent $3 million in buying houses, Black Lives Matter organization has money, and they ought to be held responsible for the damage their organization causes or allows to happen.
Well, I can only answer generally your question is politics, and I'm going to address each DA, each U.S. attorney has the ability. They have discretionary authority, and sometimes they use their discretion to prosecute some crimes. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes certain groups are under scrutiny, and other groups aren't. That's been politics. That's been politics since.
And put it this way, the leaders of the cities that allowed it to happen will never file suit against Black Lives Matter because they allowed it to happen for the Black Lives Matter cause. And so, we need to let them protest. We need to have, this is a valid protest. They have valid rights to protest. And listen, everybody's got a valid reason to protest, and anybody can protest whatever they want. But when, with the misnomer is civil unrest. I mean, there was nothing civil about that. It was criminal unrest and criminal damage to personal property and federal property. And so, people with a brain all believe that they should be prosecuted for that. But, a lot of these cities, like Doug said, because of political reasons, wanted to stay away from it and told the police officers to stand down and allow them to do it. And so really, I think the fault goes equally to the municipality.
Yeah, and look what they've got for it now.
And ultimately it's the voters too. It's ultimately the voters, because the voters vote in those district attorneys, and they vote in those politicians that allow civil discourse all over the place. I mean, it's under conservative, liberal, whatever. And so,
And then after they get in, they say, "Well, I'm not going to prosecute this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that."
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for the call, Jim. We got to go to national news, local news. We're back for hour number 2 and all things legal. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Stay tuned.
Home of LSU, 870 AM WWL New Orleans, 105.3 WWL FM and HD1 Kenner New Orleans, and Odyssey Station.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Vicki Barker in London. Western wildfires spurred by this latest heat wave endangering human life and ever likelier to have a human cause. CBS's Lilia Luciano reports.
Washington and Oregon have issued new emergency orders to protect farm workers exposed to record temperatures. The heat has killed more than 160 people in the 2 states. Scientists warn that human-caused climate change is accelerating events.
We expect that global warming will increase the odds and the magnitude of events such as this going forward in the coming decades.
Coronavirus new cases up in 26 states, most of those hospitalized unvaccinated, which is why CBS Dr. David Agus thinks the CDC relaxing its mask mandate guidance is a bad idea.
We have two countries, right? We have the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Only half of our citizens in this country have 2 shots, and you need 2 shots to be protected.
In Charlottesville, Virginia, site of that deadly white supremacist rally 4 years ago, empty pedestals where 2 Confederate generals used to stand. Activist Diana Bryant.
A romanticized version of memorabilia that makes people feel good about the Civil War. It doesn't tell the story of the Confederacy falling. What I think we're doing with removing these statues is we're no longer offering a platform for white supremacy and decentering those harmful narratives that perpetuate violence and that perpetuate oppression.
In Washington, the fence around the Capitol building finally coming down, as CBS's Nicaud reports.
The removal follows the end of the National Guard deployment in May, closing a chapter on a symbolic reminder of what happened January 6th. The Justice Department announced it has made more than 535 arrests. Approximately 300 suspects remain at large.
A federal court has temporarily blocked a Tennessee law requiring businesses to post a sign if they permit transgender people to use multi-person bathrooms. WTVF-TV's Jason Lamb met one of the plaintiffs.
The sign is discriminatory.
Bob Bernstein is owner of one of the 2 businesses that filed the lawsuit against the new law that requires they post a sign if they allow transgender people to use a bathroom associated with their gender identity.
It's a political statement, and it's in red and yellow letters like a warning sign.
At the pile of rubble that used to be Champlain Towers in Surfside, Florida.
The total number now of confirmed deaths is 86.
Miami-Dade Mayor Danielle Levine Cava, 43 people remain unaccounted for. Tennis, and Novak Djokovic leads Italian Matteo Berrettini 5 games to 4 in the first set of the men's final at Wimbledon. It's his 30th Grand Slam final right now. This is CBS News.
Get CBS News Radio on the Odyssey app. All the audio that matters to you is on Odyssey. News, music, sports, and podcasts. Download the Odyssey app today. Are you more than $10,000 in debt? Feel like you're on a never-ending treadmill, staying in one place and never getting ahead with those minimum payments? You feel like there is no way out? Don't let the credit card companies bully you anymore. There are programs in place to help you get free of your debt, and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. The program at Total Financial Freedom can help you get debt-free in months instead of decades. Get off the debt treadmill and stop the harassment. Get free of credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and medical bills. Call now at 800-533-6605 for free information. For about 10 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands. They're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, too. Get off the endless cycle without having to declare bankruptcy. You'll have the right to settle your debt for a mere fraction of what you owe. Call Total Financial now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605.
WWL First News. I'm Tom Perumian on your official weather station, WWL AM, FM, and .com.
Partly cloudy conditions are in the forecast today, so at least we'll see a little bit of sunshine this afternoon, and a few spotty showers are possible before noon. As we get into the afternoon hours, I am expecting showers and thunderstorms to develop across the area, producing heavy rain at times, which may cause some issues, so be careful if you're out and about later on today.
Your local weather expert, WWL TV meteorologist Michelle Morgan. New Orleans police investigators looking into a shooting that took place near the intersection of Frenchman and Claiborne in the 7th Ward last night. According to NOPD spokesperson Gary Flott, a man was found with multiple gunshot wounds around 1:30 in the morning. The man was transported by EMS to a hospital in stable condition. If you have any information about this crime, you are urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Former LSU linebacker Barcavius Mingo is under arrest in Texas on a charge of indecency with a child sexual contact. Mingo was arrested Thursday by police in the Dallas suburb of Arlington in North Texas. Mingo was released after posting a $25,000 bond he signed in March with the Atlanta Falcons, who terminated his contract Saturday night. He was first chosen by Cleveland in the 6th overall pick of the 2013 NFL Draft. He's also played for Chicago, Houston, New England, and Seattle during his NFL career. Friday night's killing of a Webster Parish deputy is being mourned by the small sheriff's department in that parish. Sheriff Jason Parker spoke about the loss of Deputy William Collins, Jr.
My heart goes out to the family. My main focus over the next few days, over the next few weeks, months, is going to support them and give them all that I can to help make this better and give them some closure.
The suspect reportedly barricaded himself in a home for several hours after shooting Collins, but was later taken into custody with life-threatening injuries. There's unrest in Haiti, and it's the cause for concern among Haitian Creoles in Louisiana. WWL-TV's Paul Murphy files this report.
Fear and desperation are mounting on the streets of Haiti. Wednesday's assassination of President Jovenel Moïse has turned what was already a country in crisis into a nation under siege.
This is a difficult situation for many of us because we have relatives and families and everyone that are really trying to make it on a daily basis.
Jean Montes was born in Haiti. He's now an associate professor of music at Loyola University. Montes says political instability in Haiti has been a problem for many years.
Here's Christian Garrick with WWL Sports.
UFC 264 is in the books. Louisiana native Dustin Poirier beats Conor McGregor by TKO. McGregor snapped his ankle and could not continue. Team USA basketball was stunned in an upset yesterday in a tune-up game against Nigeria. Team USA lost 90-87. Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight in Milwaukee. The Phoenix Suns own the 2-0 series lead over the Bucks. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Christian Garrick, WWL Sports.
Now, your Garcia Roofing forecast on WWL.
A mix of sunshine and clouds today. At least we'll see a little bit more sunshine than we saw yesterday, but another round of numerous showers and thunderstorms are in the forecast today. We'll have a cool front slowly moving towards the area, so that's going to help generate a few showers during the morning, but later on this afternoon, when you get that daytime heating. From the weather expert forecast.
Okay, gentlemen, here we go.
WLTV meteorologist Michelle Morgan.
And I'm Tom Perumian, WWL First News.
From WWL, the news talk sports powerhouse of the Gulf South, it's All Things Legal with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud. Underwritten by Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm. Join us on the Oakland Heart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870, or connect anytime, anywhere on the Odyssey app. Now, to our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union studios in the heart of New Orleans, here are attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri.
Hey, Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you Weekend Lawyers, All Things Legal. We're back for hour number 2, or until 10 o'clock. We usually start off talking sports, but we didn't do it this hour, or last hour. But I wanted to first of all say that LSU, UCLA, in 54 days. So I'm making the trip to the Rose Bowl. That was one of the things. I've never been in a Rose Bowl, and it's not the Rose Bowl, but it's in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. And so looks like, Albert, you'll have to cover
Labor Day weekend.
Yes.
So, and speaking of sports, I want to say kudos, congratulations, and good luck to our really good friend Mike Hoss. We've been remiss in not commenting on his good fortune. Long overdue. I mean, Mike's been a fixture here in New Orleans for nearly 30 years, and a good friend of mine. Been knowing him since my law school days, and we used to all hang out at Par Fours together, and all became good friends. His wife and her twin sister were the little sisters in my fraternity, and so we go back a long way. Mike is well deserving of this, and good luck. It's I think more and more people are going to listen to the Deuce and the Moose on WWL.
Well, I think I was one of the first people Mike met when he came into New Orleans, because I was doing my Jerry Maguire thing, and he was a sportscaster, and we went and played golf. And I think he went to James Madison.
He did.
and I think he was on the golf team. Or I don't know. He was a great golfer. I don't know if he was on the golf team. But after he played with me, he had enough because for every one stroke he was shooting, I was taking two. So it was just too long of a game for him. But yes, he's.
And Mike's not a big fan of flying, so it makes me wonder how he's gonna travel. Oh yeah, no, he's kind of a John Madden where that's concerned, and is not a big fan of flying. So it makes me wonder how he's gonna survive traveling week to week to the Saints games. But
well, if they play in Europe, he'll have to get a very quick, fast cruise ship back, back for Thursday's show. But all right, well, yeah, he's going to do. I mean, he's going to do a fantastic job, and
absolutely,
we're very happy for him. And I guess that was one of his, dream jobs. And he was groomed by Jim Henderson at Channel 4. When he came over, he got to watch Jim Henderson for, the better part of 15 or 20 years. And then he moved to news, and but he was a sportscaster at heart. His father was his father. He was an attorney or a judge, I think. I know he's an attorney. I don't know if he was a judge or not back home.
I don't recall.
So anyway, and also as talking about the Saints, this is the time of year where you start figuring out, what are they going to be 9-7, 8-8, 10-6, 7-9. I think the lines in Las Vegas have been anywhere from 8 to 8.5 as far as the over/under. If I was Las Vegas, I would set the line at 8 or maybe 8.5. Would you be a over or under at 8.5?
Yeah, I would bet the over.
You would. I would have.
Honestly, after we spoke about this before, I have a lot more faith in Jameis Winston. And listen, it's a quarterback's league. It's a quarterback's game.
Sure.
You got to either have a quarterback that can win games for you, or at the very least, a quarterback that's not going to lose games for you. And so I think the X factor that he brings to the table is, how do we defend a guy like that? How do we defend a guy that can throw the ball, down the field? He can throw a short pass, although not as good as Drew Brees, obviously, but he can throw the short pass, and he can make plays with his feet. So, as a defensive coordinator, just as a defensive back, you've got a lot of decisions to make, whereas Drew in his later years, unfortunately, became a little more one-dimensional. And was still very good at it at the quick, 3-step drop, quick pass, pick up 7 yards, and let's huddle up again. But I think, we're gonna dare Drew to beat us deep, where I think Jameis Winston, he can throw the long pass. So I think, like I said last week, I think if he can get to the point where he can really understand the offense and have some reps, with the first team receivers, I like his chances. Now they might struggle early. I think they'll put it together. I really do. I think
it's going to be up and down. I mean, one week they beat someone you wouldn't think they're supposed to beat, and then next week they're going to lose to someone you think we're going to beat. But you got Drew Brees, Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook, Josh Hill, Nick Easton, Sheldon Rankins, Malcolm Brown, Trey Hendrickson, Quan Alexander, Alex Anzalone, Craig Robinson, Janoris Jenkins, and Justin Hardy, and Thomas Morstead. Those are a lot. That's like the sort of the, I want to say hard, but that's the lunch pail portion of the team. I mean, these are the people who filled out the rest of the team. Now, you would say that Trey Hendrickson was borderline All-Pro. Quan Alexander was only there for a half season. But, that's sort of the, I don't want to say heart of the team, but that's the core of the team. They're gone. And so I think the key is whoever comes, next man forward can they duplicate that? Their contribution. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. That's a lot of players to lose.
Well, and the sad part is, Doug, that I honestly, as good as Ramchak is, I think they overpaid for a right tackle. I don't, I mean, how do you put that much money into
I think
one player? Maybe a left tackle that's going to protect somebody's blind side, right? But as a right tackle, I don't see paying someone. And look, he's a great player. Take nothing away from it, but I just don't know that position warrants that kind of money when you got so many other players to pay.
Well, I'll bring it back to like Mr. T. When Mr. T used to guard these celebrities before he became one, you paid him a lot of money because you wanted to keep the celebrity alive. And I mean, and that's the same with a quarterback. Is the quarterback? He says the NFL league, and it's at the NFL if he's being blindsided, and I think he's the protection. He's the doorway for protection. I think it's easier to fit in guards and centers than there is tackles. I think that's the hardest position on the offensive line. And
right.
So I think it's just a matter of, you usually make your biggest investment in your quarterback, but the quarterback's not going to be any good if he's hurt all the time. And I think that's probably the reasoning. But
I don't disagree. I think you build from the line out, whether it's a defensive line, offensive line. I've always been a proponent of that. They got a lot of other skill players running around the league that you can plug in, but it's just a lot of money. It's a lot of money towards a salary cap. And like you said, you just read off a list of all these other players, a couple of whom they might have been able to keep, if they could have just paid him a little bit of that salary that Ramchak got. But
I think if you have a great athlete with great feet, you're going to put them on the edge generally. And you could put someone who's less of an athlete, more of a technician, in the interior. And so I think, that's why they didn't sign Sheldon Rankins and Malcolm Brown, because, you just get big bodies in there to take up space and a little push. So that's a skill set that is easier to find in the NFL for a less price than an offense tackle. One of my favorites was Coach Joe Clark, who coached. He just died. He's from the Bayou. Mike Detillier is very good friends with him. And when when he used to, he was funny when we used to do. He would come down and work out our offensive linemen. He would do one drill with the feet, and then he said, "Son," he says, "what's your major?" He says, "Well, you study hard, son, because you're not going to make it in the NFL." He would do one drill to see if a college player had potential in football. And that was his feet. And so I think just like it's hard to find a cornerback that is a safety, because you can make a cornerback a safety, but you can't make a safety a cornerback.
Sure.
And so I think that skill set with offensive tackle. So you see, at 8.5, I would have to say I think it's going to be like up and down, up and down, up and down all year. And we're just going to be gritting our teeth all year. And, things may fall, things may not fall. But one thing I will say is the difference between 6 and 10 and 10 and 6 is usually 3 or 4 plays a year.
Mm-hmm.
So if those plays happen, it might be 9 and 7, 10 and 6. If they don't happen, they could go 6, 10, 7 and 9. But who knows? So anyway. And
that's why they play the game, right?
That's right. Well, the NFL, the worst team's not much different than the best team. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were talking about Buffalo. Buffalo Bills were in the toilet, and now, look where they are. So it doesn't. The talent level between the worst team and the best team isn't that much. So there's a lot of upward and downward mobility within a very short period of time. So there you go.
Tom Brady got out at the right time, right?
That's right.
He used to own the Bills and the Jets and the Dolphins, and now all of a sudden those three teams are coming along, and it's like, I think I'm going to go play with them.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. We're going to transition from sports to LLC operating agreements that Albert's going to tell us about. after the break. So we'll see you in a few minutes on All Things Legal.
Keep it locked on WWL for breaking news about the Saints and LSU. Brought to you by Odyssey and presented by the NBA. The NBA playoffs are happening right now. Don't miss the action.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish is
It's pretty bad.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind. Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres? No matter your learning style or experience level, Babbel has lessons designed for you that will get you speaking quickly and confidently. I tried learning Spanish before, but I couldn't stick with it until I found Babbel.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said now we speak Spanish.
Okay, I got two holding right now. First of all, it's Rennie from Folsom. He has a succession question. And then we have another Saints
Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language
caller,
today. That's
Michael from
Babbel.com.
Diamond Head. And he's talking about that extra game and what that means to the over and under.
We'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Diamonds are true. Only nature can give them birth. Only the best craftsmen can make them come alive. And only those with a true passion for diamonds can lead you to something you'll love. Oakwyn Hart doesn't move jewelry. We move people. With handcrafted, ethically sourced, high-quality diamond engagement rings at a smart price. Uniquely styled rings that capture your love. After all, that's what's real. That's what's truly beautiful. Oakwyn Hart has been creating fine jewelry since 1927. We ask you to look beyond the shine. Shop smart. Choose from our vast collection or let our master craftsmen design and create a one-of-a-kind engagement ring made just for you. Shop online and around town. The more you know, the better we look. Breathtaking diamonds, stunning styles, always at the best possible prices. Oakwyn Hart Jewelers on Metairie Road. Beautiful in more ways than one.
Hi, folks. Joel Myers for my friends at Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans. If you're in the market for a great pre-owned luxury vehicle, look no further than Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans, where you can shop from a large selection of top luxury brands, including BMW, Lexus, Range Rover, Cadillac, Infiniti, and many others. Of course, we have a large selection of top-quality certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz vehicles as well. Because at Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans, we get the nicest pre-owned vehicles from the nicest people, our customers. Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans, Veterans Boulevard in Metairie.
When our Saints hit the field, they're prepared. They've got a plan. They've got a playbook. What's your retirement playbook? Whether you're already retired or closing in on retirement, the Retirement Playbook can help you get ready. Get your free copy of the Retirement Playbook right now. Visit saintsretirementplaybook.com. That's saintsretirementplaybook.com.
Here we go.
Brought to you by Presley Wealth Management, the official wealth management partner of the New Orleans Saints. Hey, New Orleans, we want your stuff. DependableStorage.com.
All things legal on WWL-AMFM.com and the Odyssey app. Connect with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud on the Oakwyn Hart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870.
All right, we're back. Doug Sunseri. Albert Nicaud here with one more. Call also our law firm at 504-837-1304, 504-837-1304, or North Shore 985-624-9697. And earlier, before we got a call about hate crimes, before we go to that, it's very interesting about hate crimes and all that. All crime has got hate in it in some form or fashion.
Right.
And, I think a lot of laws are made because the laws on the books aren't being enforced. And so some people's solution are to make more laws on the laws that aren't being enforced to begin with. And then, the other aspect about hate crimes, I think, sometimes you get these highly intellectual, legal scholars, and maybe some politicians sipping coffee at Starbucks, trying to say, hey, we want to figure out what's the type of hate that is involved in committing this crime, and say, the hate, this kind of hate is worse than that kind of hate, so we're going to prosecute that more. But that sort of seems contrary to a colorblind society, is where all crime is crime, period. And then there may be some mitigating factors due to their personal situation or what have you. But when you start segregating that a hate crime, one type of crime is worse than the other crime, what that does is marginalizes the victim. Because do you think the victim cares if they were, whether they were maimed by anybody of any color? It has the same effect. And so to segregate it will say, oh, it was done by, this situation or this group or that group. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference to the victim, because it has the same effect on them. And I think a lot of this hate crime stuff is just an intellectual exercise that does the opposite of what it's intended to do, because what it does, it says certain type of hate is less harmful than other kinds of hate. And so it's just, it's an interesting observation.
Well, and the other side of it is the victim that is not subject to a hate crime. Whether a white person kills a black person, or a black person kills a white person, or an Asian person, or you pick the ethnic group. If a black person kills a black person, is that black person's life somehow worth less than if a white person did it? Because the victim is the victim, and the victim suffered the consequences of
bad behavior,
of their death. And so granted, I understand that you want to curtail violence among the races, but there are enough laws in the books, I think, to do that.
Yeah, you just enforce the laws that are in the book right now, and but and it comes back to being political. And really, what you do is it's very simple. It's crime. You look at the background. You look at the circumstances and enforce. There's plenty of laws on the books for all this, but it's for certain politicians of all on all sides to beat their chest and say to do it for reasons that have nothing to do with public safety. And we were talking a little bit about LLCs, and you were going to talk a little bit about limited liability.
Let me ask you, do we have a couple of callers? Don't we have a caller or two?
Oh, do we have a caller?
Yeah, Rennie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Rennie.
Let's do that first.
Yeah, let's go to Rennie. Hey, Rennie, you know all things legal with Doug Sunseri, now with Nicaud.
Thank you. Colin, wife and I just turned out in our 80s, and what's the pros and cons that we're thinking about just turning the property over to children?
You turning your house over to your children?
Yes, sir, that's right. House.
Well, it has a lot of pros and cons. It goes to your particular situation right now. Why do you want to do that now is the first question, as opposed to just putting it in a will?
Well, the reason why I just have it in their name, just be their property, their home rather, and later in life, if we do happen to go into a nursing home, maybe be taking that the home from that.
Well, you see, that's why I was asking you, because what would happen is your home paid off, or the close to being paid off?
Yes, it's paid off.
It's paid off. That's what I thought. All right. What happens is, if you donate the property to your children, what you would be doing is you would be impairing your ability for long-term care. Let me ask you this generally. I don't want to ask specifics, but I'll say it this way. In order to qualify for long-term care, are you interested? Are you doing that because of Medicaid planning as far as long-term care? Is that the reason you would want to do that? Or you wanted them to have access to cash to assist you to pay for your Medicaid, your nursing home?
Well, what it is just trying to see if we hadn't looked in the nursing home right now, and then we have no long-term care policy, anything like that. It'd just be Social Security and whatever assets you have in the home. Be one is trying to protect the home from them getting it.
Okay, that's why I was finding out why you would do that. I don't think that in order to, if you donated your house to your kids right now, not in addition to losing control over it, all right, which isn't fun for parents, or you could put it in irrevocable trust, you'd have a 5-year look back period for Medicaid. And so you would not be able to apply for any kind of Medicaid long-term care benefits for 5 years under that scenario. So, and the other thing too is, in order to qualify for Medicaid long-term care, you have two different you have two type of assets. You have countable assets and non-countable assets. In order to qualify for long-term care under Medicaid, you have to have less than $2,000 of countable assets. And very generally, countable assets is cash. Non-countable assets is the equity of your house, your car, and your stuff in your house. So, for example, if someone has $3,000 and no house, they're not eligible for Medicaid because they have more than $2,000 cash. But if someone has a $500,000 home with no mortgage but no cash, they're eligible for Medicaid long-term care. So what I'm saying is, if you sell your house or you donate your house within that 5-year period, you take in an asset that's not countable for Medicaid long-term care and you make it accountable. So therefore, you may be precluding your eligibility for Medicaid sooner. So if you're interested in availing yourself to possibly in the future to long-term care Medicaid, it would probably do you better to hold on to your house. Okay. I tried to squeeze in about 2 minutes. It usually takes about an hour to explain in a bunch of charts. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what I would do is this. You see, that's why there's a lot of bad, I call it barroom information. It's like, I heard this in a barroom somewhere, or maybe
Water to the top.
Yeah. So barroom talk. It's saying, hey, sell your house, because a lot of people that sold their house or donated their house and then applied for Medicaid, and they came to me, and it actually did them more harm than good. In fact, it extended their ability to apply for Medicaid for long-term care. So there's things you can do to specifically plan so that you maintain your non-countable assets and reduce your countable assets to make you eligible for long-term care sooner, while maintaining the value of your non-countable assets. Now, again, I'm squeezing a lot in a minute or two, but that's basically the objective there. So, in your 80s, it's probably less. That 5-year period doesn't, is a little more tenuous. And here's the other thing too. You give up control. I mean, that's big. A lot of people, they work all their life, and I know you trust your kids, but you give up control. And are you comfortable with that? So there's a lot of decisions. There's a lot of dimensions to making that decision. And a lot of times we talk about it for about an hour and a half in a consult, and we give all the scenarios. And and I'll say this, and it comes across wrong. And I don't mean to be insensitive about it, but I will say it this way. You can only make the perfect estate plan if you knew when you were going to leave this earth. And we don't know. So what we do is we try, to deal with certain contingencies and possibilities. So in response to your question, would selling your house be something advantageous? Based on what you told me now, probably not. If long-term care and the nursing home is an issue. If it's not an issue and you have, X amount of money in the bank, well then that would maybe a different situation. So basically, what we do is figure out, when we meet, we look at the financial situation, we look at your retirements, we look at your Social Security, we look at the assignment of all that of those funds, and then you figure out a plan. You figure out which plan's best for you. All right.
So in other words, if you had your home and no mortgage and no cash, you could have
you're Medicaid eligible.
Yeah, I mean, but other words, if you sign over, say now, you have to wait 5 years before you
could apply for Medicaid. Yeah,
Medicaid, and
long-term care.
Yes.
In the way
Go ahead.
Yeah, and the way they would work, and if you were eligible for long-term care, what would happen is you would assign your Social Security to the nursing home or any other payments. They'd let you keep about $50 or $60 of that, and then Medicaid makes up the difference.
Yes.
So, yes.
Okay. Also, the tax on your property, which we're locked in, is
sure.
Never, be reassessed. That's probably the only thing. Meals to go up. They don't make a difference in your pay. So in other words, it would be in their name, and then the tax would change on the property also.
You might lose your homestead exemption too, because because it'll be in one of your kids' name, which might have another house, and you're living there. So there's a lot of consequences. And what happens is, just barroom talk, or or wherever, you hear one piece of the strategy in absence of the other. And that one piece by itself, you can't make an evaluation. Each situation is very, very different. And it's based on age, it's based on health, it's based on money in the bank, it's based on whether your house is paid for. All these factors have to be put into the mix before you make a decision. There's no, hey, let's fit this round peg in a round hole all the time. And so there's strategies. You got to figure out what you want to accomplish, and there's strategies to do that. And there's two types of people. I always say there's people who want to have a plan for everything, and they go through moving money, they moving, selling, donating houses. They do all these things, anticipating of not wanting to, be long-term Medicaid, long-term care eligible, and they drop dead, and all that went for naught. And then you got other people who don't do any planning. You ought to do something in the middle, something that's realistic and practical, but not fear-based about everything. Because you want to enjoy the rest of your life, and you want to enjoy control of your assets. And a lot of times when you give away your assets, even though you trust the person who has it, there's still a little queasy feeling there if you get into it with them, because they're like, they got control of my life now. People don't understand that. And so there's a lot to it. So there's a lot of non-legal considerations that you also have to make. But thanks for the call. Call us at our law firm at 837-1304, 837-1304. If you got more questions, we'll be glad to answer them. Let's go to break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your Weekend Lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
When staying informed is non-negotiable.
I need weather news.
The local stuff and being connected is a must. 24-hour news cycle.
Okay, no more calls. No more.
Access it whenever I want to be able to do it anywhere. From your home to the office, from the barbecue to the beach. Staying informed this summer is easy with the Odyssey app. I can do it on my phone.
Anywhere at any time.
Download it today and stream WWL anytime, anywhere.
It's hurricane season. Imagine for a moment that an intense storm is out in your house. Will your roof leak? Will the siding peel away? Will it flood? If your house is properly built and maintained, you'll be fine. What about
What did Doug do?
So we can show you how you can weatherproof your retirement nest egg. Call now for a no-obligation appointment. Don't let your retirement get caught in the rain. Call us at 877-615-4312. That's 877-615.
Okay, Doug.
Process, medical exams, and blood tests. It's no wonder you put it off. It can seem so confusing, expensive, and time. You want to protect. Go to ethoslife.com today to apply in minutes. That's ethoslife.com. Ethos Technologies Inc. operates in California as Ethos Life Insurance Services. Not available in all states and prices subject to underwriting certain health questions.
Diamonds Direct takes value to a whole new level with a spectacular summer store-wide sale. Get ready. It's July 14th through the 18th. 5 days of extra savings. 20% off Diamonds Direct's already unbeatable prices. A multi-million-dollar selection of rings, earrings, bands, and bracelets. Virtually everything's on sale. Plus, top jewelry designers are flying in with all new collections. The buying opportunity of the year. Extra savings store-wide. Mark your calendar. July 14th through 18th only. And only at Diamonds Direct on Severn Avenue across from Lakeside Mall.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Dealing with adversity and finding ways
going live right after this.
to overcome it will always be part of our future. The new season of Hope Through History, a documentary podcast presentation from C13 Originals in association with the History Channel, written and narrated by me, John Nicaud, features moments in our nation's past when we faced challenges as a country and as a world. Listen and follow Season 2 of Hope Through History, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Now, more All Things Legal, underwritten by Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm. All advice given and opinion shared are solely those of attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri. Back to WWL.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you can lawyers, all things legal. Albert, I think our last caller sort of, this is a nice little segue to talk about, when you do planning for estate planning, each situation is very individualized, and it's different. And there's legal considerations and there's non-legal considerations to make also. For example, especially if you want to start giving away assets, it's okay to give assets away that you don't need or you're not going to use in a lifetime, for like your children, grandchildren,
Sure.
Something. But on the other hand, if you start
your family home is a little much, right? At this stage.
And you just got to think about what you're doing. Now, I know. Let's talk about like the Saints owner, Tom Benson. One of the things he was giving away his stock in the Saints and dealerships because he didn't want to pay a tax when he passed.
Right.
He wanted so the fear was back in the 90s when he started this was if he passed, he'd have to sell the team to pay the death tax, and and they have to sell the team. The team may not be purchased by an owner who's interested in keeping New Orleans. So that was good. But it had the other side of the coin was that he started giving control of that stock to a trust that his grandchildren and his grandchildren and his child were the beneficiaries. And so when he got at odds with them, he lost control of that. And hence it became a legal battle. And my only point in saying that is that it had a consequence that you have to consider. And, let's take that to the family home. And, you would, if you wanted to donate, let's say I've had people who are in their 60s, very young, say, I want to donate my home in an irrevocable trust, or I want to, donate it to my children so that I can be eligible for Medicaid, or I want to start moving some assets. Well, that also has a consequence because now you put control of your life into your children when you're still healthy. And, as parents, we do have disagreements with them at times. And sometimes we need to speak our mind.
Right.
And a lot of times you'll say, you know what? Maybe I don't want to say what I really want to say because they're in control of my life right now, So there's a little more to it. Also, when I have, people come in and say, well, I'd like to do this with my kids. They know what to do with it. I trust them that they'll do the right thing. I say, well, your children you can trust, but can you trust their spouses?
Right.
Because a lot of estate disputes don't start with the children. It starts with the spouses who sort of get in the ear of the child and sort of encourage them to maybe take on a dispute. So my only point in saying it is you gotta really know the consequences on the other side when you start making those type of moves. And each situation is individualized. And I think we've talked about this before. A lot of times they've had these seminars where you say you have to, do estate planning by with these irrevocable trusts. And what they try to do, or a revocable trust, and what they try to do is make a situation, everybody fit into a square peg, regardless of their situation. And that just doesn't work because everything's individualized.
Look, I agree with that. And, one thing I think we didn't talk about, and, it's kind of an X factor. So let's say, the gentleman on the phone that called, it sounded rather young. Did not sound like he was, ready for the nursing home. Yeah. Right. And so, you've got a 5-year look back period. And so what about the person who says, listen, I trust my kids. They love me. I love them. I'm willing to take the risk. I'm going to make them the executor of my estate or my, agent under a power of attorney. So I trust them with my life and all my assets. What if I want a situation where, listen, I want to donate my home and all my assets to my kids now. Just give it to them now. Let them put it aside, take care of me. And then when the time comes and I do need nursing home care, I will qualify, right? And then the state will not have my home as an asset to go after in obtaining a judgment, against my home or lien against my home for the amount spent towards my nursing home care. So that way that asset is even protected from, from the return from the federal government in terms of their collection efforts back. Mm-hmm. What about that situation, which is a possibility? I mean, it's an X factor. We don't know what the state's going to do, whether they're going to enforce their lien, whether they're going to come back after it, whether they're going to have, you talk about that all the time. The inefficiency of government works both ways, and that they may not have the ability, the staff, the whatever, to go back and collect those assets from the estate.
Right. And again, I always tell people, you only make the perfect estate plan if you knew when you're going to die.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. And so, you just have to figure out what's your objective, and figure out the best way to accomplish it. But people's objectives are different. And so, that's the first thing. And then, let them know the consequences of that decision, because each decision you make has a consequence,
Mm-hmm.
a legal consequence, and maybe some non-legal and secondary consequences. And, our job is to give full disclosure. So at least when they make the decision, they're doing it with the right information, and they're accomplishing the objective they want to accomplish. All right, I hear the music. Let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers. We'll be back for our last segment right after this brief time up.
The most important financial decision you'll make.
With J&J Exterminating, getting rid of what's bugging you is what we do every day. From mosquitoes to ants to no-see-ums, J&J will make your pest go away. J&J provides mosquito one-time treatments for special occasions or misting systems that get rid of mosquitoes every day, all day long. Call J&J Exterminating, Louisiana's largest independent pest control firm with over 55 years experience.
J&J Exterminating.
This year, give her what she really wants. Pearls, emeralds, sapphires, rubies, or those famous Oakland Heart diamonds. Rings, bracelets, earrings, and necklaces. Finer jewelry at the best possible prices. Oakland Heart Jewelers on Metairie Road. We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish is
pretty bad.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind. Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
No matter your learning style or experience level, Babbel has lessons designed for you that will get you speaking quickly and confidently.
I tried learning Spanish before, but I couldn't stick with it until I found Babbel.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
I can't wait to use our new language skills on our upcoming adventures.
Babbel, language for life, celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
We're all on this.
Okay, going live right after this.
Odyssey and find your one thing. During summer, be sure to use dishwashers and stoves in the
Say again?
to minimize the effects of heat. Join
All clear till the end, but 5 minutes.
Makes a greener
5
tomorrow.
minutes, all right.
What's your one thing?
All things legal with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud on WWL and Odyssey Station. Connect now on the Oakland Heart Jewelers Talk and Text line 504-260-1870.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. You can call us at our law firm at 504-837-1304, 504-837-1304, or North Shore, that's 985-624-9697. Albert, I sort of dovetailing again on what we were talking about before, estate planning. And, I've heard things like, hey, I want to donate, other reasons. I want to donate my house to my kids now, lose control of it because I don't want to go through probate. And, really, that, the probate's not a big deal in Louisiana, as we always talk about. If you do a will with the independent administration, it's a very routine, activity that, it's not a big deal. It's very efficient and it can be done very easily.
Well,
yeah.
Probate's not a big deal, and quite often, we will go ahead and prepare a will for somebody, and that will appoint an executor administrator, and the estate does not need administration. There's a couple of bank accounts in a house. You don't necessarily have to appoint that administrator. You can go ahead and petition the court for possession, and the children get placed in possession of the home and the bank accounts, and it's a done deal. Now, quite often when you have brokerage accounts and things like that, they're going to want to see either a judgment of possession, or they're going to want to see, only the executor or executrix can call and find out or get information on the amount and the different assets and who's in charge of what. So in that instance, you will have to go ahead and appoint an executor. But in if it's like we say a spouse in a house, you just place the heirs in possession. It's a relatively inexpensive process. It's usually about $500 or $600 in court costs, which you're going to have to incur anyway to transfer a real estate. So, because you've got to record the judgment of possession to transfer the title on the real estate. So it's not that big of a deal. And
I know when my parents died, they wanted to sell the house real quick, and he said he was all concerned about, hey, can we get the house on the market? And it only takes, once you get the paperwork, it only takes a couple of days to get to file the paperwork and get it on the market, get it ready to be sold. So it's again, one of the reasons they say, oh, you got to do these trusts because you want to avoid probate, or you got to give away money so you avoid probate. You can be sued in probate. Well, you also can be sued in a trust. I mean, there's trust litigation there is like there is with a will. I mean, so again, there's nothing in Louisiana I'm concerned about. If you do a will and you put it under independent administration, it's basically just it's an instruction manual on how to transfer your estate. It's very, very efficient, and it's not a concern that anything would happen. The only time you have problems with wills is if they didn't have capacity, or
if they're contested.
But undue influence.
Right.
But and normally as attorneys, we can pick that out. We can see if it's coming, and either decline to address it, or if there's someone like someone was having health issues, I would tell them to go to the doctor that morning of the will, and if the doctor clears you to sign everything, then you're good to go. So
right.
So all right, but there you go. All right. Well, we'll be. I think that's another one in the can. We'll be back next week. Anything else you want to say before we go, Albert?
That's all. Just everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week on All Things Legal. It's been great doing this show, 13 plus years, and it's I got to tell you, it's a lot easier doing it from home than driving all the way into the station and all that sort of thing.
Hey, 48 miles there and back. Amen. So we'll see.
Amen. Yeah.
We'll see you next week. Have a great week.
Home of the Saints and LSU football, basketball, and baseball. 870 AM WWL New Orleans, 105.